Hey guys, so I got my big bowl out today. I'm gonna make a big loaf or a couple loaves of bread in this bowl. And why is that? Because I'm working this weekend, and so the kids are gonna be home, Darren's gonna be home. They're gonna want sandwiches, they're gonna want toast. So I'm gonna make a big batch of bread today. Yep, I cook in my PJs. So, I'm getting my measuring stuff. My oil. I switched to using only coconut oil now for everything. I love it. Now this is the type of yeast I use for my bread. It's never failed me. I get perfect bread every time. Some people use stuff off Amazon. I've tried it. I didn't like it. It didn't raise properly. This was the stuff Grandma used. This is the stuff I use. 2 farm fresh eggs from this morning. You gotta have your sugar. And you gotta have some salt. Now you don't need a whole lot of salt or sugar. You're also going to want to have a glass Pyrex or a large measuring cup, because depending on how much bread you're wanting to make depends on how much water you're going to use. For my normal bread, I use about 1.5 cups. For this batch, I'm going to use probably about 3.5 because I'm going to make about 4 loaves. So, saying I'm going to make 4 loaves of bread, yes, 4 to 6 loaves, you still only need 2 eggs. I've tried adding an extra egg. Doesn't even work out that properly. It makes it too thick. 2 eggs is the answer. So this is what I want to do. You're going to get two, 3, 4, 4 3/4, 5-ish, because you don't want to fill this bowl with flour because you're going to use it to raise as well, so you don't want to overdo your flour. Now my oil, it's hard, it's coconut oil. I want to pop this in the microwave for a second and get it back to liquid form. That, I want to finish my dry ingredients. So, usually in my bread recipe, I want about 3 tablespoons. This is a bigger recipe, so I'm going to use the 1/4 cup. I'm actually going to use a little bit more. It's between 1/2 cup and 1/4 cup. So, there you go. Now, I still don't want to up my salt too much. So, yes, I'm measuring this time. I only want to use a teaspoon, or a tablespoon, sorry. This is my tablespoon. Or not even a tablespoon. You're only going to want maybe 1/2 tablespoon. To me, that even seems too much. And now you want your yeast. I'm just going to use this again. I love these tablespoons because I can use either side. So, 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, and 1/2 should be enough. There's about 1/2. Now, get a spoon. You're going to want to mix this up a bit before you add your wet ingredients to combine everything, and so you don't have chunks of yeast. It's all evenly well blended. It does make a difference. Some people say it doesn't make a difference. Yes, yes it does. Leave my spoon there. I'm going to pop this in the mic. So yeah, you want to go to liquid form. I'm going to let this drip in for a second. So now you're going to add your eggs. You'll notice I still have my water running in the background, and I'll show you why in a minute. I don't want this to be too lumpy of a dough, but I don't want it to be too wet. So I'm leaving my water running while I add this water. So now my wet ingredients are in. I'm going to add this 2 cups of water. Personally, I like using a metal spoon. To me, it just works better. And you'll think, oh, well, that looks really wet. As you're stirring, it's going to thicken up. You don't want it to be too dry. And this, at this time, is still way too dry. So I'm going to get another cup of water. Make sure I'm mixing it good. And I'm going to slowly add this cup in. Don't pour it all in right away. With this, you're going to want to add it slowly, just because you may not need a full cup. And you don't want your dough to be too wet. And this is what I mean by it's still dry. I still have a lot of powdered dough. So by mixing it and slowly adding your water, you'll get the mix properly. Now, I added too much water. So what am I going to do to correct that? I'm just going to get a handful of flour and sprinkle it. Make sure to scrape my spoon off to combine it. I'm going to add a little bit more. And that's not going to hurt your dough. It's just going to make it less sticky. And this is what I said. You don't want to make your dough too dry, but you don't want to make it too sticky. So now I'm all done with the spoon. Time to get my hands in there. And you don't want to over knead your bread in the bowl, because you're just wanting to get it combined to make a nice ball. Like right now my dough is way too sticky. So you just want to combine it, get it to form a nice ball, get it up from the bottom, flip it around a couple times to combine it. That bread is ready to be risen. So I just washed my hands to get all the dough off of it. Now you're going to let your bread rise for 35 minutes. And all I do is leave it on my counter, leave it in the bowl, put a tea towel over it, and let it sit. So it's been about 30 minutes. And like I said, your dough is going to double. So now, I'm not going to quite take this out of the bowl yet. I want to get my loaf pans greased. So, these are the loaf pans I use. I just picked them up at the Dollarama. They are a non-stick loaf pan. I grease them with a little bit of oil. Coconut oil, sometimes butter, margarine. It all works the same. Go over this pan. I got my coconut oil here. is the size of your standard loaf slicing sandwich bread. This one is about half that size. So this would be like your dinner loaf. I want to make 3 different loaves. So 2 sandwich size and 1 dinner loaf. Something I always have in the background is a clean cloth to wipe my hands. Take this off. I'm just going to dry my hands with it because I'm not going to use it again. Now you need your flour. So, how much flour? I'm just going to take a measuring cup out. Take a half cup out. Put it on my counter. I'm also going to take my hand and move it around my counter. And make sure I get a nice, even amount of flour on my counter. Like that. And I'm going to take my dough and I'm going to put it on top. And this is so I can knead my dough. So just like that. I'll take my ends, I want to push it into the middle. Like this. Take it and flip it over. Just like that. Done. Get a knife. So I'm going to cut this in almost half because I want 3 loaves. So I'm going to take this one. There's my loaf for my little pan. Just like that. Now, I'm going to cut this in half. These are my loaves for my bigger pans. Just like that. I noticed it started to stick to the counter. And there's my 3rd loaf. So, some of you are going to ask me, now what do I do? Well, I don't like letting my dough rise on the stove, on top of the stove. I don't like it rising in the kitchen and when it's in the pans because I want to get it ready to cook. So I proof it. So I'm going to turn my oven on. I'm going to turn it to 425. I'm going to let it get hot. So now my oven's preheated to 425. I want to shut it off. I want to put these in. So this will let it rise, but won't let it cook. And I'm going to set the timer for 25 minutes. So there's 2 minutes left on my stove timer. I'm just going to peek in the oven for a minute. I know you shouldn't do this. It's okay. I'm going to start heating the oven up anyways. So actually 1 minute now. I'm going to press bake and set it to 425. Actually, I'm going to set it to 420. Because this oven works wonky. It doesn't work like my old oven. I'm going to reset the timer and set it for 15 minutes. So, like I said, it works wonky. I'm going to shut my light off. I'm going to show you my bread before I shut the light off, just to show you how nice it rose. So there's my bread. Like I said, it's nice and risen. The middle one's a little wonky, but that's okay. It'll be eaten all the same. That's how nice my bread rised in the oven. So I'm going to shut the light off now. And I apologize about my oven. Yes, I know I need to clean it. I'm still getting used to this different stove, and it doesn't have a self-clean option. So I actually have to take a day where I'm not busy and take the oven completely apart and clean it. So that one time when I'm making a video about making bread, my timer does not work on my stove and did not go off. So I'm like, I can smell my bread. It's got to be close to going off. I look over and my timer's done. And I look in and my bread is dark. It's not burnt. It's actually not burnt. Don't think it's burnt. It's just darker, which is fine. It is still edible. I'm going to get a dishcloth and take it out and show you. So, I only have one oven mitt, so I'm just going to do it like this, one-handedly, and take it out. And see, it's just dark. It's not burnt. So I'm going to take it now with my two hands, flip it, and set it there. And let it cool. Same with this one. Take it out. Just dark, not burnt. Move my phone charger because we don't want to ruin the phone charger. And again for the last one. So, like I said, it's dark, it's cooked, it's still edible. Everybody makes mistakes. If you're not prepared to make a mistake baking, then buy your bread at the store. Because you're gonna make mistakes. Sometimes the timer won't go off. Sometimes you'll not hear it. And your bread's gonna get dark. Dark bread's just as good as light bread. It's all edible. So, and I'm going to show you that it is still edible, even though it's really hot still. I'm going to take the small loaf, my bread knife, and I'm going to show you that it's still perfectly good bread. See? Still nice and soft. Perfectly edible. Perfectly cooked bread. The outside crust is going to be a little hard. That's fine. Who doesn't like a hard, nice crunchy crust on homemade bread? I love it. So, like I said, the inside is just perfect. You see, it's still nice and soft, nice and cooked. And I'm going to enjoy the end piece with my coffee. Have a great day, everybody, and thanks for joining.